Hey, welcome back. It's JWalter here. In today's video, I'm going to share an update regarding new home sales in the United States. In this report, I'm going to be sharing how new home sales actually have been decreasing. In addition, new home prices also decreased last month as well. In this report, I'm going to be sharing the latest report from the U.S. Census Bureau. They just announced this yesterday at the time of this video on March 23rd. So with that said, let's begin today's video. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you guys. This is new residential sales for February 2022. There's approximately a 3-week lag in when they report new home sales from the prior month. And this is, of course, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. And by the way, this entire report is based on new single-family houses only. It does not include multifamily, townhomes, or condos, just single-family houses. And of course, a friendly reminder, a new home sale is defined as a deposit taken or a sales agreement signed. So in other words, this acts more like a pending home sale. So some of these home sales don't necessarily close escrow. So these are basically a leading indicator of our housing market because this is before the house actually closes escrow or the sale is actually finalized. So the first table I want to share with you guys are the number of home sales and also the number of houses that are actually still for sale, and of course month supply and the median sold price. So let's first talk about the number of houses that actually sold. And by the way, these are in thousands of units and they're also seasonally adjusted. So for February 2022, we had 772,000 houses that sold, single family houses. That's a decrease of 2% compared to 1 month ago and a decrease by 6.2% from February 2021. Compared to February 2021, we had 823,000 houses that sold compared to now 772,000. They also break it down by region. So they have the Northeast, the Midwest, the South, and the West. In the Northeast, that's the only region that had an increase in new home sales compared to 1 year ago. That increased by 7.5%. In stark contrast, in the Midwest, new home sales actually decreased by over 19%. So here's another way to look at this. This is new single-family houses that sold in the US. Again, for February 2022, 772,000 houses that sold, or when a deposit was taken or sales agreement signed. Another way to look at this is to look at Fred's graph. These are single-family houses that sold in the US. Again, for February 2022, we had 772,000 new single-family houses that sold in the US. When you look at this graphic here, back in December, we had 860,000. These are seasonally adjusted annual rates. So for February, at the current sales pace, we would have 772,000 houses sold over the next 12 months. So when you look at this, this is the second straight month where new home sales actually have decreased. Also, when you look back to pre-COVID though, you can see how elevated these sales really are though. So in February, 772, they really peaked in January 2021, where we had just under 1 million houses that actually sold. Obviously, we're at levels below that right now, but when we look at pre-COVID, look at this, 772,000. The last time we had that pre-COVID was really back in approximately July 2007. So right now, besides 2020 and 2021, we're at levels as high as 2007. Okay, let's change gears slightly and talk about new home sale inventory. So the amount of houses for sale that are brand new houses. That reached 407,000 in February 2022. That's an increase by 33%. Honestly, I do not put a whole lot of weight into this though, because some builders are just simply pouring foundations and they're not actually starting the construction of the new house. However, the U.S. Census Bureau counts those houses as technically part of housing supply. So I have another metric I track, so I'll share that here in just a little bit. But I want to first kind of share these stats here regarding new inventory for brand new houses though. So month supply, here's another myth, 6.3. That's 6.3 months would be the housing supply for February 2022, which would imply a more balanced real estate market between home sellers, which in case this is home builders, and home buyers, because we need month supply in the range of 4 to 6 months to have more or less a balanced real estate market. So for existing houses, this number is less than 3. So in other words, we have a strong seller's market. So when you look at this figure here, I get this question a lot. It implies that there's more supply than there is demand. And we look at that, the month supply is up by 40%. However, look at the definition on the U.S. Census Bureau's website. I found this. It says a house is considered to be for sale when it's being built to be sold and a permit to build has been issued in permit issuing places, or here's the key word, or work has begun on the footings or foundation in non-permit areas, and a sales contract, of course, has not been signed and a deposit hasn't been accepted either. So in other words, if a builder starts the footings or the foundation on a new house and then they basically stop construction, then the U.S. Census Bureau includes those figures or those houses in their month supply. So in other words, their month supply here of 6.3 months is going to be a little bit inflated because a lot of builders are getting permits pulled but are not starting construction on brand new houses. I talk about this quite a bit on the channel, but I just want to bring it to your attention again because it's a common question I get. In addition, we look at new home sales in the US, we're actually down 11.9% year to date. And that's largely driven by a 25.7% decrease in the Midwest for houses sold in the Midwest. So let's change gears slightly and talk about home prices for brand new single family houses. So right now, the median sold price in February 2020 was $400,600. That's a slight decrease compared to January. However, we're not very far off from the all-time record highs we saw in November when the median sold price was $430,000. So right now, for February, we're just about $30,000 less than the all-time record highs. In addition, we compared the median sold price in February 2021 from 1 year ago. That was $362,000. So now we're at 1 year later, about $40,000 more. In addition, when you have a look at the median sold price for 2021, look at that, $400,000, so about even right now. But when you look at 2020, look at that, $336,900 compared to $400,000 in February 2022. Another way to look at this is, again, to look at Fred's graph. I really like their website because it really gives a really good graphic depiction about housing trends. So again, the median sold price for February, $400,600. Compared to that, to the all-time record highs was November 2020. And look at this, right when COVID hit, basically in March 2020, $328,000. So from March 2020 to February 2022, we went up about $100,000. Also, when we look at the last 10 years, look at how fast home prices increased for brand new houses, really ever since April 2020. They absolutely have been skyrocketing at levels far higher than any other month over the last 10 years. So part of the reason why the median sold price in the US is so high for brand new houses is due to a higher percentage of more expensive houses that have sold. We're also seeing, at least in my area, I imagine this is probably pretty common across the US, is a lot of home builders are building more expensive houses because, of course, they can sell their houses for more money. So have a look at this. These are new houses sold by sales price. And here is the percent distribution. I talk about this really on a monthly basis though, but I want to bring it to your attention again because this is a recurring trend. So houses that sold over $750,000, that made up only 5% of all sales in 2020. In 2021, that was 9%. Now in February 2022, we're at 10%. So in other words, the share of houses that sold for over $750,000 basically doubled from 2020 to February 2022. In addition, we look at houses that sold in the range of $500,000 to $750,000. In 2020, that made up 13% of all home sales. Compare that to now, 23%. So obviously a much higher share of houses that sold over $500,000, especially when we look at 2020 compared to now. In contrast, for houses that sold in the range of $200,000 to basically $300,000, in February 2022, that was 18% of all home sales. Compared to 2020, it was 31%. So obviously we have much more houses that sold in the upper range compared to the more affordable houses, and that's driving up the median sold price overall in the US. Okay, so changing gears slightly, I want to share some very key stats with you guys because you definitely should be informed about this. So here are new houses sold and also for sale by stage of construction. These are obviously seasonally adjusted. These are obviously in thousands of units as well. So let's have a look at houses that sold. Again, 772,000. When you look at houses that have not yet started, 209,000 houses have sold that have not even started construction yet. And the current levels right now, we haven't seen numbers this high since May of 2021. In contrast, let's look at the housing supply for brand new single family houses by construction type. So right now, of course, we have 407,000 total houses for sale, technically speaking. And we look at the number of houses that have not yet started construction, though, that are for sale. That's 106,000, numbers far greater than at least the last 12 months. In addition, we look at houses under construction that are technically for sale. Also, numbers we haven't seen since the last 12 months as well. However, here are the key stats we definitely should be following. And these are the key stats that I personally follow to track to see if home buyer demand for brand new houses still remains strong or if it's lagging behind. So here are the total number of houses completed that are for sale. This is a very important stat to track. So in February 2022, we had 35,000 houses that have been completed and the builder, for whatever reason, hasn't sold them yet. When you look at these stats here for February 2022 compared to February 2021, we're at levels actually less than 1 year ago. So 39,000 compared to 35,000. If home builders were overbuilding and they're completing their houses and they're not getting sold, that would be an indication that home buyer demand is decreasing. However, we're not seeing that just yet because right now at 35,000 compared to 1 year ago, we're at levels actually less than 1 year ago. In addition, have a look at this. This is the key stat that I personally track. You definitely should be following this, in my personal opinion. And these are the median months for sale. In other words, a housing supply. And this is the median number of months for sale since completion. In other words, this is the month supply of houses that have actually been completed, but they're still for sale. This would be a very key indicator to track because we want to see this figure to be in the range of 4 to 6 months in order to have a more balanced real estate market. And then also this number to be over 6 months to imply that home buyers have the clear advantage over home builders. So right now we're at 2.5 months supply of houses that are actually completed. This is the lowest number we've had since, besides October, tying October, the lowest number we've had all year long, except for October 2020, when we also had 2.5 months. However, when we look at the past couple of years, look at the annual rate for 2021, 3.2 months. In 2020, 3.6 months. So when you compare February 2022 to 2021 and 2020, we're at levels below that. If in fact we had more builders that were building houses and are not selling them, of course this number is going to be increasing, but we're not seeing that because the month supply of houses actually completed is actually decreasing. Okay, let me briefly summarize this video because I went over a lot of housing stats with you guys, and I want to make sure you're clear on basically on a high level overview about what we're currently seeing here. So again, this is for February, new single family houses, and a new home sale, of course, is defined as when a deposit is taken or a sales agreement is signed. So more or less this acts like a pending home sale, and this is not closed escrows or closed home sales. So new home sales actually decreased for the second consecutive month on a seasonally adjusted annual rate, and we're down 12% year to date. We'll have to see if this continues to decrease because, of course, mortgage rates right now are in the range of around 4.6 to 4.7%. This is an increase of almost 2% since August 2021, which one would assume would curb home buyer demand for especially brand new houses for dirt lots, for example. In addition, the median sold price decreased to $401,000. That's about $30,000 less than the all-time record high that was set in November 2021. And that $401,000 number is higher than any other month prior to July 2021. So in other words, even though the median sold price decreased compared to 1 month ago, we're at still very, very elevated numbers compared to pre-COVID. And of course, part of the reason why we're seeing the median sold price for brand new houses increase is because we're seeing a higher share of more expensive houses that have sold. Meanwhile, the median months for sale of completed houses, meaning a house is already built and it's ready for a home buyer to move in and purchase the house, that remains very low at just 2.5 months. Compare that to the last 2 years, we're at still very low levels. And that's definitely a key metric to track to get a gauge about home buyer demand for brand new houses. If this figure remains in the range of less than 4 to 6 months, that would imply, of course, that demand is higher than the supply of new houses. In contrast, if it remains low, it shows that new houses are selling before they are completed and aren't sitting on the market. In contrast, though, if this number increases above 6 months, for example, that would imply that home buyer demand is decreasing. So what's your biggest takeaway on today's video? I hope you got a lot of value out of this video. Also, if you did, please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate it. And also consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Hope you have an awesome day. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.